bringing this up now? We're bringing this up now because it seems an awful lot like what was happening in 2024 when Democrats couldn't get out of their own way to win an election they should have won.
He's so mad.
Yeah, he's
so mad.
His argument also revolves around like electability when it's like, yeah, you know, the electability argument is if you just shut the fuck up about Israel. Yeah, let's get to a fucking boomer talking big shit. Morning Joe slams DSA's extremist views and urges Democrats to call him out. Now this guy is ultra instinct, you know? This guy knows how to win races. Mr. Do not drop out Joe Biden no matter what is back again with another fiery hot take. You know, that movement that's like exciting the base for the first time in a very long time, making it seem like the Democrats are actually invested as a national party and solving some of these problems that people have been experiencing for the last couple of decades. You know, that group, the Democratic Socialists of America, a group that has now created some of the most popular politicians in the nation. Yeah, we should cut those guys out, says Joe Scarborough, former Florida Republican. Let's take a look.
Tomorrow to decide the Democratic nominee for governor. State Representative Francesca Hong is currently the frontrunner in the race, but the Democratic Socialist has faced scrutiny for past social media posts, including one calling for Thanksgiving to be canceled. Democratic Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez of New York, who has declined to endorse any candidate in the Wisconsin gubernatorial primary, weighed in on the race yesterday.
Francesca Hong, who is the Democratic Socialists of America supported candidate for governor. You haven't endorsed her. Are you going to?
No, I haven't endorsed in that race. My focus has been in winning back the Congress, winning back the House, and positioning ourselves to have the best chance possible to win the Senate. So I've been focused on those legislative races.
What do you make of this?
These races ultimately are local, and all politics are local. My understanding is that that Francesca Hong has made clear her present stances to her electorate.
Yeah, she's moved away from a lot of that.
Right, she's moved away from it. And I have a local city councilman that has this saying, woke one was crazy.
Woke one was crazy. Okay, that's
and I think that what's important is that we have to...
Everybody gets mad at this, but like, what is the, like, what... I think I was going to get into the woke one versus woke two distinction and stuff like that in a little bit, but like, I don't think this is the wrong assessment at all. I think controversial opinion here, but I think AOC is, you know, trying to move away from some of the more like electorally not great positions of the national platform, especially because this is a moment where it is virtually impossible in a contentious media environment to describe like police abolition or a prison abolition as a North Star, like as a idealistic goal to move in the direction of. I mean, I guess she could say that, right? I guess she could be like, look, there's always going to be certain, you know, constructive criticisms for any platform. DSA National is an organization that you know, democratically votes on a national program, a program and a platform that they want to move in the direction of. I think one of the biggest problems of the Democratic Party is that we are lacking a vision, right? We're lacking a bold vision. And you know, let's be real. Regardless of my disagreements, you can't argue that the DSA's platform is bold. For far too long, we've only had bold, radical vision on the Republican side, on the reactionary side, Project 2025 and things of that nature. How about we put the working class and their needs at the center of our movement for once? How about we try to move in the direction of a more just and more equitable society for once? Like, she could say something along those lines, right? The problem there is twofold. One, I don't even know if she agrees with, you know, that national platform. Anyway, there's also a little bit of drama, I think, with DSA National and her local chapter, New York City. There's also the DSA left-right distinction. You know, there's a bunch of different points here, right? So I think that's That's part of the reason why she said this. But I don't have an issue with being I don't have an issue with the way she's communicating around this stuff. I don't have an issue with Francesca Hong communicating around this stuff by saying, like, look, I think like police abolition as a governor is not something that is in the cards for me anyway. So a lot of people, I think, looked at what she was saying as like running away from the ultimate goals of Black Lives Matter. And I don't think that's the case at all. And I certainly don't think AOC is making that argument. I don't think AOC believes that at all. I don't think she is doing that in any way, shape, or form. I think people are either looking at it charitably because they like AOC and assuming she just meant exactly what they feel, or they're looking at it uncharitably and assuming she meant something that they find to be really f***ed up. I think that's what it is. Because this is an intentionally vague way of sidestepping the issue. And I've seen so many variants. I've seen so many different variants of the same back and forth. Maybe people were a little too woke scolding online or whatever, but the boiled down genuine energy and racial justice, feminist, LGBTQ rights, and abolition movements and more to woke one was crazy is just handing the right of free win and diminishing real political energy. Yeah, I don't see it as that. I don't see what she said as that at all, especially because I think AOC is too woke. I've talked about this before. I think one of her weaknesses is ironically that she is too like academically woke. She leans into the woke scold stuff maybe a little too much. She originally was the one who was mad about Bernie going on Joe Rogan, right? We were at odds with her at the time, right? So that's not, I don't think she's saying like racial justice and LGBTQ. That's crazy. Like, I think when you say, oh, woke one was a little crazy, we got a little out of hand or whatever, we were looking for real solutions, and maybe people were very excited at the time to take on certain positions. When I say that, I mean rad-lib tendencies, a lot of which still haunt me, a lot of which people associate with me on the internet. People think I'm the king of woke 1.0, that I was Mr. Rad-lib, right? I never was. I have a pretty open mind to unlimited progress, but I also understand how people operate. Like I never did the Latinx thing. I never did the folks with an X thing, right? Like, but I don't disparage people who did. I understand that they were trying to be as empathetic as possible. But ultimately these sorts of things they're inconsequential, right? I think they're inconsequential. I don't think it shows that you're like a bad person or silly or ridiculous and you should be punished for doing that. Like, who gives a f-? Whatever, dude. Whatever. That's my opinion on this. But I think when people talk about woke 1.0 versus 2.0, I think that's mostly what like people like AOC are referencing, where it's like, you know, we tried a bunch of things. Some of it was, a little bit annoying and that's it. And I would still far prefer a little bit annoying on the empathetic side to whatever the unlimited neo-Nazi shit is going on right now, right? But we also have to be, because we're marketing our positions, right? This is something that I stress all the time. Like this is, if you want to build a mass movement, you got to speak like the masses, you got to speak to the masses, and you got to be where they're at, and you got to lend a helping hand, right? And a part of that is also not leaning into certain inventions of academic circles when you're communicating. I think Abdul does a very good job at this. I think Bernie has always done a very good job at this, even though on the other side, Bernie has also sometimes come across as like not being as invested in black issues, which is very important for American politics, not just to like win Democratic elections, but just important in general. So I'm a little bit of a centrist on this woke stuff in many respects. I'm a little bit, the reason why I'm using Latinx as an example is because it's an easily identifiable one that pretty much everyone now recognizes was like a little too performative. Can we say that? Can we say it was a little too performative? You know, Is that appropriate? Because I always saw it as such. But I would never disparage Amy Goodman, who used Latinx. And I think she still might use Latinx. I have respect for the elders. I have respect for the people who are kind people, empathetic people, who are organizers, who maybe use some of this academic language and want to do right, want to help people. I just don't think it's the best way to market. That's it. That's it. That's all. That's my assessment. Right? I will never make a mountain out of a molehill in either direction, though. I'm not the type of guy who will be like, you can't call the master bedroom a master bedroom. We call it a primary bedroom now because woke killed it. And then that's my North Star. That's the only thing I care about. Right? That's why I say I'm a centrist. I'm a centrist with this stuff because I think it is ultimately immaterial. Okay? It has nothing to do with anything. It's just not the best marketing technique. But having said that, if that's your only output, like Zaid Jilani is a great example of one of these guys that I sometimes find myself in agreement with, but in many instances find him to be a little bit too hyper-focused on woke shit, culture wars. Like, I am not someone who gives a about culture wars in any way, shape, or form. I don't care. One way or another, I don't care. Like, I think there are people who make it their life's mission to be on one side or the other of culture wars. And I think both of those sides are still very much involved in culture wars. I am involved in class warfare. Okay? I find culture wars to be an unnecessary distraction. This doesn't mean that racial issues are inconsequential. This doesn't mean issues around transgender folks are inconsequential. It doesn't mean that at all. It doesn't mean that we should just like cast aside black issues or trans issues, right? Never that. But the hyper focus on the identity of everything, the hyper focus on the culture wars, whether you're against it or for it, I think it's ultimately unproductive. And that's always been my attitude. That's been my attitude during Woke One. And I'm glad that people are kind of moving away from that a little bit, especially because people are post-October 7 a lot more aware of how cynically this is deployed because so many people saw anti-Semitism and the feelings of Jewish people be placed as the primary way to silence the opposition against Israel's war crimes, against Israel's genocide. And I think that played a big role in waking up people to that reality. Now, of course, if we let it get out of hand, then they become anti-culture war warriors, and that's bad too. That's also fucked up because, again, it goes back to the same issue. We want to improve people's lives. We want to uplift the working class. We want to offer the American working class an opportunity for a better future. That is what we care about. Okay?
That has this standing.
Here, let's
I
join
haven't
in the
endorsed
back.
in that race.
The race yesterday.
America supported candidate for governor. You haven't endorsed her. Are you going to?
No, I haven't endorsed in that race. My focus has been in winning back the Congress, winning back the House, and positioning ourselves to have the best chance possible to win the Senate. So I've been focused on those legislative races.
What do you make of this?
These races ultimately are local, and all politics are local. My understanding is that Francesca Hong has made clear her present stances to her electorate.
Yeah, she's moved away from a lot of that.
Right, she's moved away from it. And
yeah, I think this is like talking about everything broadly. I don't think it's like defund at all. If I remember correctly, I don't think this was even about defunding the police at all. And Francesca Hong's platform still heavily features police accountability. So I don't know why you guys feel like she's running away from that. If you were to ask AOC directly, I don't think AOC would ever speak out against like police accountability or restructuring the way that we fund local law enforcement. It's being packaged with like Thanksgiving tweets. That's the problem. So people are doing what they always do, which is understandable. People are taking away what they want to take away from this conversation. If you're like uncharitable to AOC, you're thinking, oh yeah, she's positioning herself as being a moderate so she can win the broadest electorate. She's doing the classic thing. She's doing the classic thing. She's abandoning us. She's abandoning the DSA, that sort of thing. I don't think that's what they're doing. I don't think that's what they're doing at all.
I have a local city councilman that has this saying, woke one was crazy.
Woke one was crazy. Okay, that's
and I think that what's important is that we have to assess what
was it. I mean, did the movement go too far?
That may be a quote. That might be the newsletter quote of the day.
It's a T-shirt.
Woke one was crazy.
Yeah, you've got your headline.
Woke one was crazy.
Hong faces a challenge from Milwaukee County Executive David Crowley, who was endorsed by outgoing Governor Tony Evers.
All right. So listen, Jonathan Lemire, first of all, there's no great conspiracy here. The reason why more people are talking about the DSA right now is because you have the mayor of the most important city in America who, first of all, is identified as DSA. He's proven to be, I think, extremely pragmatic in many ways. And while there are a lot of people...
I'm sorry, what leads you to believe that Democratic Socialists are somehow antagonistic to pragmatism? Yeah, he's been pragmatic. Yeah, he wants to get shit done, my man. What are you talking about? What the... Why is the automatic attitude that, like, of course, these guys are pie in the sky idealists. They can't be pragmatic at all. Least Racist Community Note in 2026 on White Lamau. An essay on the inequality of human races by Gobenau, published in 1855, has classified the Turks as a yellow race, mediocre intelligence at best. The Turks are classified as dense and ponderous and obtained white traits through the practice of white slavery. Just another day on X.com, the everything app. Arthur de Gobenau was a French writer and a diplomat who is best known for helping introduce scientific race theory and racial demography, and for developing the theory of the Aryan master race and Nordicism. Yeah, dude, I'm gonna be honest, I was rage baiting. Of course, I was rage baiting with the, great replacement theory. But it's even funnier that anytime they get mad at me, I'm like, I'm white. What the fuck are you talking about? Because I'm perceived as white by normies. Every racist, every race realist loses their dang mind, dude. It is so awesome. It is so awesome. Where these guys were, I mean, I've been cooking up a firestorm on a couple of these things. The socialism but rich one. I said I'd rather be successful and advocate for the poor than be a broke Trump booster advocating for the rich. Even on X.com, the everything app. 60,000 likes ratio. But the other one was I'm White Lamau. This brought all the Nazis. They were so mad. Yeah, Hasan Piker controls the media. Yeah, Elon Musk has been losing his mind. Big dog, don't worry, I'm not cucking you, okay? I'm posting it. I said, wait, who has the father that stepped up photo actually? Because I'm gonna post that instead. No, not the video, man. Give me a screenshot. Give me a screenshot. Okay, I posted it. So Elon Musk thinks I'm cucking him and hasn't stopped freaking out about it since. Nice knowing you. He's gonna send a drone to my house to kill me, I feel like. Is it wise to personally anger a near trillionaire over and over? We shall find out. I mean, what am I supposed to do? He keeps losing his damn mind. He's like, he means what he says. Hasan Piker, we're going to destroy the white race, bitch. That's what he's here to do. Let me troll a little bit. Guys, stop sending me the James Carville tweet.
James Carville, fan of...
Wait, Piers Morgan, he hates America. James Carville versus Hasan Piker and Tucker versus Trump with Vinny Oshana. Oh, they had all my ops. That's cool. Who's there to defend me? You don't want to see a retiree shit talk you from their luxurious bed? Jank? Uncle Chunky Weigert was defending me? Let's go. All right, let's keep playing this. I got to pee.
Who Despite
And we'll get to all of that.
How successful he's been. His approval ratings are high. Murder rate, the lowest I think it's ever been on record. The economy, we're going to be reading something from the Financial Times talking about actually how New York City is thriving right now based on just about every metric. But you also have people in New York City that have been saying some whacked out things. I think most mainstream voters would say they're whacked out things when they're talking about going to pro-Hamas rallies the day after Hamas slaughtered more Jews than on any day since the Holocaust. I think 90% of Americans would think that is abhorrent. And so, again, they'll try to blur lines going, oh, well, they just don't support health care for all. Or, oh, no, we're not saying that. We just support hate speech. But it is also very important, though. Why are we talking about DSA now? Because the Democratic Party has a choice to make. Now, I said this day in and day out leading up to Kamala Harris's election. You couldn't watch an NFL game without seeing 300 taxpayers are going to pay for trans surgeries for convicts ads on NFL games. And even though they still pretend, that did not move viewers. I think the Trump campaign spent $30 million on those ads. And it moved working class men, working class white men, working class black men,
or it kept them where
working class Hispanic men. It just did. And the Democrats had their head in the sand. So there's nothing wrong with the Democrats supporting economic justice. There's nothing wrong with the Democrats supporting, cutting taxes or getting rid of the Trump taxes and making billionaires pay more in taxes. That's legitimate. That's a legitimate mainstream debate for people to have. Health care for all. Health care is unaffordable. That is something most Americans would agree with. But please, I don't need people telling me, oh, you have to just turn a blind eye to people saying that women getting raped on October 7th didn't matter in the grand scheme of things. No, Americans aren't going to support that. This is not about.
Yeah, rape doesn't justify genocide, by the way. And that is unironically the position of the overwhelming majority of Americans. Like, that's literally the position. The overwhelming majority of Americans now recognize it as genocide. The overwhelming majority of Americans understand that Israel has done a genocide and it's completely unacceptable. So no, sucks to suck, Joe Scarborough. But no, that position is actually one that the majority agrees on, no matter how hard you try to frame it. Dropsite did a context response to it. Joe Scarborough used the eve of Wisconsin Democratic primary to deliver a fact-free 10-minute smear of Hasan Piker, Francesca Hong, Daria Eliza Avila Chevalier, and the DSA, built on butchered quotes, shameless distortions, and Hamas rape allegations no major human rights organizations have been able to verify. Here's everything you got wrong. Pro-Hamas rallies after at 10-7. Scarborough, referring to Democratic candidate New York 13, Daria Eliza Avila Chevalier, and DSA co-chair Megan Romer, said people supported going to pro-Hamas rallies the day after Hamas slaughtered more Jews than any day since the Holocaust. The framing is entirely his own. The demonstrations he's pointing to were Palestinian solidarity gatherings that Avila Chevalier said she attended because she expected Israel to attack Gaza indiscriminately and disproportionately. She was right. By October 8th, 2023, the day after, Israel's military said it had already bombed some 800 sites in Gaza, a geographic area smaller than New York City, with the IDF military spokesman claiming entire cities nests of terror. By Sunday, late Sunday, Gaza's health ministry reported 413 Palestinians killed and more than 2,300 wounded. People marching on October 8th were reacting in real time to bombs already falling on one of the most densely populated places on earth, but Scarborough presents them as celebrating a massacre. 2. The 10-7 rape claims of the blood-soaked history. Scarborough leads hardest on sexual violence, chastising the left for ignoring women getting raped on October 7th, and to describe those questioning the atrocity claims as beyond the pale. The accusation of rape has been used for centuries to dehumanize people of color and justify their mass killing. Enslaved and later free black men were lynched by thousands on the strength of unproven rape allegations. Evidence-free claims of rape and mass rape were broadcast by Scarborough and MS Now as settled fact immediately after 10-7, and it helped justify a campaign that has now killed more than 73,000 Palestinians and wounded nearly 175,000, including over 21,000 children. Together, that is more than 1 in 10 people in Gaza killed, wounded, or permanently maimed. The black brute myth, the pretext for Rosewood and countless other massacres, the Emmett Till lie, the unverified sexual violence claims work because they short-circuit scrutiny. To ask for evidence is made to appear as defending the crime. That is exactly the function of these claims. served after October 7 when they were deployed in the war's opening weeks to pre-justify Israel's genocidal response. Scarborough and MS Now have not yet told their audience that no major human rights body has confirmed a single instance of rape on October 7, not the Independent International Commission of Inquiry, the UN's highest standing investigative mechanism on the conflict, not Amnesty International, not Human Rights Watch. None have confirmed it. Wait, what? Joe just admitting he's never watched you? Yeah, Pablo was there, I think, on the panel defending me a little bit, but we'll get to that in a second. Where's the oh, here it is. The one UN document routinely cited as proof, the March 2024 mission led by Pramila Patten, was, by her own explicit acknowledgement, neither intended nor mandated by to be investigative in nature. The UN's own special representative of sexual violence and conflict has since acknowledged publicly that no human rights organization has confirmed rape occurred that day, which, by the way, is ironic because my position was not at the time that, like, there's no reality where sexual assaults could have been conducted on the day of October 7. I was literally actually arguing against that position, saying there is a likelihood that these sorts of things happen. Sexual violence is unfortunately commonplace in instances of conflict. We don't have the evidence to. We didn't have the evidence at the time. Pablo Jew, what the f- is wrong with you? Anyway, but that doesn't justify a genocide that has unfolded in the aftermath. My opinion always has been that whether rape has happened or not on October 7 still doesn't justify a genocide. And regardless of the likelihood of sexual violence taking place on October 7, given that it is something that takes place in instances of conflict, such as, you know, every other instance of conflict historically, that the atrocity propaganda that unfolded in the aftermath of October 7 was unfortunately fact-free. There was no evidence whatsoever presented for it, and they leaned into it heavily in an effort to justify what Israel was doing at the time and continued to do, which was a genocide of largely children. That's it. And there have been a ton more evidence of Israelis committing sexual atrocities, instances of sexual violence against Palestinians since then, and certainly before then as well. Shias, Ayatollah Khomeini, Sunnis, Hasan Piker, I rest my case. That is crazy. What the? I am the Ayatollah Khomeini equivalent of the Sunnis. That's wild. Anyway, I think many Shias would also be offended at the fact that you are putting me as an op. Okay? I'm not going to lie, fight back. If it were me, I would be pushing back. No, it's the classic. Also, Hamas is Sunni. What are we talking about? What a contrast. Anyway, also Treasure Train, 35% off, 5+ gifted subs, level 2 hype train. We're going to continue. So Scarborough's most incendiary charge was someone said a woman being raped doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, clearly aimed at Piker, whose "it doesn't matter if rapes happened on October 7th" clip has become the single most circulated attack line against him, cited by Richie Torres, the ADL Dana Bash on CNN. The 17-second clip is severed from all context. In the full segment, Piker was arguing against a viewer who was pushing the hypothesis that Israeli former captives describing sexual assault have been coerced by their government into lying. Piker called that idea ridiculous and urged his audience not to dismiss non-firsthand accounts. His pushback was that whether or not one accepts these accounts, it does not retroactively justify a genocide or strip Palestinians of the right to live free of occupation. It was the opposite of rape doesn't matter, as Scarborough now puts Piker's words. Even outlets covering the controversy have noted the clip is used to claim Piker denies assaults, when in context he was refusing to let a viewer wave away allegations. The end. Oops, wrong one. Joe Scarborough continued condemning Hasan Piker for, in his words, saying rapes of Jewish women don't matter. That is insane. That is an insane statement. It is completely ridiculous. I have never said that. But of course, you can get away with saying whatever the you want in mainstream media against the person who is a prominent critic of Israel. This is the unfortunate reality. For many, many years, I've been around. Okay? I've been an advocate for progressive values my whole life. Okay? For my entire professional media career. Up until October 7, I never received this level of anger, this level of universal anger, universal enmity. It is unbelievable that there are so many diehard loyalists to the Israeli cause that they just straight up find it completely unacceptable, and they will go to any length to lie and besmirch and smear. It is ridiculous. The anger from media elites should be understood not as a political argument, but as frustration that they're losing market share. They are mad that fewer people are paying attention to corporate media, which means media elites are losing relevance, power, and ultimately business. They are wrapping that rage in electability arguments and political punditry. But the rage, the really deep anger exemplified here, screaming at a Twitch streamer and effectively demanding politicians stay away from independent media, isn't about political ideology or what particular strategy they think Democrats should adopt. For these media folk, it's about something way deeper and way more personal, their loss of status that they've enjoyed for decades and that they feel entitled to. That's exactly what this is. That's the secondary component in this conversation. I think the primary component is zealotry. Joe Scarborough is a Zionist. Joe Scarborough has grown up in a media environment, in a political environment where it was unquestioned. The loyalty that America is supposed to have to Israel is unquestioned, right? And he's never had anyone in his immediate orbit that has ever questioned that loyalty, that has ever questioned the allegiance that we have. So from his perspective, he's like, what the is going on? These youths, they're going crazy. From his perspective, the only opposition to Israel could be concocted from an anti-Semitic perspective. That's his primary reason for behaving this way. He is reminded of his, in some respects, mortality. Okay? He is reminded of his mortality, that changes are happening all around him in ways that he cannot comprehend, and he's angrily lashing out. Okay? So it's not even just about Zionism necessarily, but it's about living in a universe where the reality has shifted from under his feet, and he cannot control it. The reality around him is changing, and he cannot control it. This is a terrifying prospect for a lot of boomers, okay? This is the motivation for why they refuse change so aggressively. To concede to these seismic shifts is to recognize one's mortality. It's that simple. For many, that zealotry doesn't come from some kind of weird sense of loyalty to the nation state of Israel. I mean, I'm sure there is plenty of that as well. But that's why it's so difficult to get boomers to understand, current cultural shifts. They got a death grip. But here in the media, Joe Scarborough has obviously enjoyed a position of prominence and influence for his whole life. He's worked hard. Okay? He's worked hard to get to this position. He sucked the right dicks. He has this wonderful career. And now, all of a sudden, some random 35-year-old with an internet connection and a camera gets to command the attention of a far larger audience than his? Are you kidding me? And now they're saying unthinkable things about the nation state of Israel? Are you triply kidding me? Get the hell out of here. That's his response. That's why he's like losing his mind. That's why he can't come to terms with the fact that these unspeakable things are not only being spoken, okay, but they're also reaching people and they're changing people's minds. These are forces completely beyond his control. That's the reason why these guys lose their minds. That's the reason why they have no investment in trying to contend with these narrative changes. They don't want to understand why people are arriving at these conclusions, and they certainly don't see children in body bags, children in trash bags being carried into hospitals in Gaza. So they just swing wildly at the fences. The comments are ripping him apart. Lamau. Shannon, I get the U80 San. Fine, we can disagree, but is there anyone who has turned the under 35 crowd locked in the way that he does? Do you see how the GOP is trying to divide Dems and take away one of the Democrats' biggest weapons? I don't hate anyone. I'm repulsed by his excusing rape, engaging in bigotry and racism, and spreading conspiracy theories. He's a weapon because he's vile. We must embrace him because the very online look up to him is the same thing the right said about Charlie Kirk. Same. I don't hate anyone. I'm concerned when people can't distance themselves from statements like it doesn't matter if rapes happened on October 7th. That is offensive, whether said about Muslims, Jews, or Christians. This is not hard. This is why I've spoken out aggressively against Islamophobia and called out those who attack Muslims, pushed for Muslim registries, told Muslim members of Congress to go back where they came from and treated Muslim Americans as others. I'm not. Oh my God. It's ridiculous. Joe thinks sexual assault justifies genocide. Pierce said you're ducking him. I might go on a show, but I think it's too much of eventually, we'll see. No more excuses for you not to move to New York, buddy. A Staten Island judge has granted a temporary restraining order against New York City's rollout of Mayor Zohran Mamdani's PETA terror tax, pausing enforcement while a lawsuit brought by a group of homeowners moves forward. There's something so funny about this being in Staten Island, because who the is getting their second $5 million home in Staten Island? No one. Like, who is this for, man? Corrected link from the dashboard. I mean, there's only 23 comments, dude. Joe has more disdain for the left than the Republicans. Why is that? He's right, you know. Amen. Free Palestine. Joe, please shut the up. Did they delete him crashing out over Hasan? I saw him getting ratioed in the comments. Now the post is gone. Oh, this is the new post that they put up. Blue Sky post for today. Yeah, I saw that. Tennessee Hall are doing the work. In case you missed it, Joe Scarborough just went on an unhinged rant against Hasan Piker, taking his comments about 10-7 out of context. He won't have Hasan on to discuss it, so we put Hasan explaining what he actually said after Joe's red-faced diatribe. And I never watched them again, and I never will. Between them and Ali Velshi, I don't watch either. I haven't watched Joe or Mika since 2016 when Trump got elected. Yeah, Blue Sky Liberals got me. If nobody got me, Blue Sky Liberals got me, okay? Which is cool. Facebook boomers. Far left Twitch streamer Hasan Piker recently defended his rhetoric, calling Hamas 1,000 times better than the fascist settler colonial apartheid state of Israel, despite acknowledging it was intentionally provocative. I say that on purpose, Piker said. I want to force people to really think about what I'm saying. I want to challenge them to think about it a little bit. The streamer made the comment in a social media post earlier this year and has since doubled and tripled down on the claim while facing backlash. Though he conceded that he would likely alienate fewer people by simply saying Israel was worse than Hamas, but Hasan Piker said it wasn't his style. His statement does not mean they're good or commendable. Would a resistance militia exist if there were no occupation? The worse Israel treats its colonized, the more violent the resistance would be. This is a very natural and objective expected counterforce response. I guess after that, he said something provocative. No one under 50 on either side of the aisle disagrees with this. Would I want to live there? No. Would I want them to live there? No. Do I respect their resolve? Yes. Would I do the same exact thing in their situation? Absolutely. It's not even a debate. It's just common sense. There is a thing called math. In the context of victims is true. And that was the context he was using. I mean, all you got to do is look at the numbers. He's right. Not saying Hamas is good, of course, but Israel's much, much worse. You are just making him cooler. I see, not lie. He's right, and he should say it. I mean, that's a measurable truth. Where is the lie? The facts prove this claim. I don't support what Hamas does. However, all you have to do is understand the history to understand how Hamas came to be. That's all I'm saying. Well, that's like saying the rebellion is better than the empire. 54, and I do not disagree either. That's not provocative. It's truth. Even a broken clock is right twice a day. Yes, the lesser of two evils argument. Not just thousands, but millions. Most of America agrees with this. Most of the world outside of the U.S. has known this for decades. He sounds well informed. I mean, he isn't wrong. Then go live there if it's so great. There's like every couple comments, there's like one boomer who's like, well, f*** you, go live there then. Brother, the suit method radicalized the Facebook segment? I think so. We are winning the people, man. We're winning the people because we are on the side of truth. Anyway, let's continue.
This is about the Democrats once again fumbling the football on the 2-yard line when they have a chance to make great gains, but being so woke, I don't know if you want to call it woke 1, woke 2, or woke 3, but being too woke to call out the obvious. I swear to God. It's crazy that we're even having this conversation. If somebody says a woman being raped doesn't matter in the grand scheme of things, it's okay to call that person out and demand that candidates distance themselves from those people. If you want to rule, over a party and win elections.
He's losing his mind. Bro, was he this mad when Trump won? Because if I recall correctly, when Trump won the second time, he went to Mar-a-Lago to kiss the ring and the tip of Trump's penis. You bitch. Suck my dick, Joe Scarborough. Oh my God. God damn, dude. Boomers and their emotional support apartheid state. Holy God damn, dude. You tell a boomer, hey, man, hey, can we have more housing? They go, I will literally do everything in my power to destroy you. You tell a boomer, your emotional support apartheid state has gone too far. They did a genocide that's unjustifiable. They go, I will do everything in my power to destroy you. Oh my God. We get it, bro. You think the Palestinians deserved it. We get it. Oh my God. I'm so glad the two of you are finally communicating. Yeah, we're not. He'll never have me on his show. MSNBC will not have me on any other broadcast. There's a couple executives at CNN, MSNBC, and all these other media properties that have decided I am too odious a figure to have on the broadcast, and it's far better to just talk about me. I am willing and able. I will go to CBS. I will go to ABC. I will go to CNN, and I will discuss these issues. I'll go on MSNBC, MS Now. Sorry for dead naming. It's not like I'm not accessible. I am accessible. I'm a media person. I'm a media figure. I'm a media figure that commands the attention of sizable audiences, just as you do. We could just easily have a conversation. Y'all have literal psychopaths all the time on your shows. You've had Stephen Miller on your broadcast all the time. He's responsible for all of the ICE activities on U.S. soil, including but not limited to kidnapping our neighbors, sending them to El Salvador without due process, murdering white Americans, right? Not just brown Americans, white Americans as well. And you have him on. You have Benjamin Netanyahu on. He's a genocidal war criminal. He's responsible for the deaths of more than 20,000 children. He's murdered more than 20,000 children. You have him on and you yap around like he's a normal dude. He has a arrest warrant by the International Criminal Court. But a Twitch streamer is a bridge too far. A Twitch streamer who, unfortunately for you, has the overwhelming majority position on your emotional support apartheid state.
To pro-Hamas rallies the day after Hamas slaughtered more Jews than on any day since the Holocaust.
I missed this.
I think 90% of Americans would think that is abhorrent. And so, you know, again, they'll try to blur lines going, oh, well, they just don't support health care for all. Or, oh, no, we're not saying that. We just support hate speech. And
he does. There it is. He does. He does support hate speech. You join the ranks of Gore Vidal and Noam Chomsky on that blacklist, except there's a difference here. We don't live in the same media environment that they lived in. That's the big difference. And that's also part of the reason why these guys are losing their minds. Because back in the day, you could just blacklist someone. Norm Finkelstein was blacklisted, right? That's why you'll never hear a prominent anti-Zionist Jew explain their position in mainstream news. You think that's weird? Don't you find that odd? Are there no prominent anti-Zionist Jews? Like, with the exception of Ezra Klein, maybe interviewing. Edward Said is not a Jewish person. And you'll never hear from a Palestinian any longer, regardless. Back in the day, at least Edward Said would go on TV every now and then. They don't do that. Nope. Brad Lander is not an anti-Zionist. You will never hear from Gabor Mate. You will never hear from Norm Finkelstein. You will never hear from Ilan Pape. You'll never hear from Avi Shalim. You'll never hear from Raz Segal. Why? You think these guys don't exist? You think these guys are not prominent academics? At most, you'll hear from Gideon Levy, maybe. Even then, you think Gideon Levy is inaccessible? These aren't just Jewish academics. These are Israeli academics. Half of the people that I mentioned are Israeli academics. These guys rush after October 7 to find as many Israelis as they can from the Knesset and the IDF to come and contextualize the violence. They don't have Ofer Kassif's phone number. They can't have Ofer Kassif on. I had Ofer Kassif on. He's a minister in the Knesset. Why won't these outlets have him on? Is his voice not relevant? Are their voices not relevant? There's American anti-Zionist Jews. There's Israeli anti-Zionist Jews. Why don't they ever have them on? And I've given up on the idea of ever having a Palestinian on, of course. That would be a bridge too far. I mean, they're barbaric savages. That's the attitude that these guys have. It's racism. Zionism is racism. It's an ideology that is a racist ideology. It's an ideology that determines the Palestinians to be barbaric savages that must be excised from the land. It's bigotry through and through. And it has nothing to do with Judaism either. As I explained over and over again, Joe Scarborough is not Jewish. Joe Biden is not Jewish, right? These guys are very clearly loyal soldiers of Zionism. They're Zionists themselves. In 2015, Trump had huge polling lead in GOP primary when he first mocked John McCain's prisoner of war status. Most corporate media figures, led by the revered dean of political reporting, Dan Balz of the Washington Post, pronounced that Trump's campaign would now collapse over his McCain insult. Obviously, it didn't even remotely register because most people don't have the same narrow luxury concerns as the DC press corps. Nobody gave a shit about whether a candidate was sufficiently reverent to McCain. Only DC journalists and political junkies cared. Same with having so little to offer that you have to try to make the election about who campaigns with Hasan Piker. Nobody gives a shit. People have real problems and concerns. That's what they're going to vote on, not this manufactured cable news melodrama. Here's the hilarious Dan Balz article predicting Trump's instant collapse over his McCain comments. If you're Joe Scarborough and you and your wife make many millions a year for whining on TV, then you fixate on the evils of Hasan Piker. Most people care about real things.
If somebody says going to a rally the day after Hamas slaughters more Jews than any time since the Holocaust, it's okay for Chuck Schumer. It's okay for Hakeem Jeffries to call that despicable and demand that people distance themselves from that. That's okay. So why are we
demanding that people apologize for being right but too early in 2026 is crazy. You should be apologizing, you baboon. You should be apologizing every day on your hands and knees for justifying a genocide, for continuing to justify it, for defending Israel. Anyway, I'm going to bring in friend of the show, Noah Kulwin. Noah, I'm bringing in my Jewish advocate, my token, Noah Kulwin, to. Oh no! Here we changed it. We changed it. We have a go more further.
Over this way,
all the way to the orange mark.
Oh my
See
gosh!
That?
Yeah,
you got a mark down there.
Oh wow!
Yeah,
you're wow. It's legit.
Yeah, come close into the microphone, of course.
Yeah.
Here it is. Noah Kulwin in the building, ladies and gentlemen. Noah Kulwin is here, visiting once again,
hanging.
Yeah, and looking skinny as well. That's what people are saying in the chat. But I also noticed it. I didn't want to say anything, but a Jewish guy called Noah. You don't see that very often. I agree.
Pretty rare.
Yeah, very rare.
Although I'm bummed because when I was a kid, Noah was kind of a rare name, and now there are like lots of kids. Yeah, and they're all Christian. I'll be honest.
Yeah. So
I don't think if all Jews got called Noah, it really moved the needle on anything.
Yeah. Noah's Ark.
That's our story.
Yeah, it's her story.
No. That's. I don't know if you know that. That story actually belongs to the state of Israel.
Okay, well, good to know. So we're watching Joe Scarborough lose his mind. And
he's mad at you.
He's mad at everyone.
But didn't he say he's never listened? He said he hates you, but he's never spoken to him. I never listened to him.
Yeah, we didn't even get to that part yet. But
good.
Yeah, Noah's mic is a bit loud. Okay, I'll lower it.
Noah's mic is a bit loud.
Okay, I'll lower it a little bit. You don't really hear that often on this broadcast about my guest being a little bit too loud. But here, let's get back to the video.
We're bringing this up now because it seems an awful lot like what was happening in 2024 when Democrats couldn't get out of their own way to win an election they should have won.
He's so mad.
Yeah, he's
so mad.
His argument also revolves around like electability when it's like, yeah, you know, the electability argument is if you just shut the fuck up about Israel.
He's so mad, dude.
Yeah, I'm
sorry. I'm hung up on how like he's the I don't know if I've ever seen. I mean, not that like I'm a Joe Scarborough scholar.
I'm a Joe Scarborough head.
Oh,
so I can tell you as a Joe Scarborough academic, you know, this is what I studied in college.
Oh yeah, you were in regional studies with a focus in Scarborough country.
Yeah, communications degree. You know, it's crazy. I did not see Joe Scarborough this mad after Trump got elected. He is more mad about this stuff, about my existence in media and Dottie Eliza going to a pro-Palestine rally on October 8th, where she was right but too early by Joe's case. I guess like January 6th is the last time he was this mad. Like, I don't know. He wasn't this mad when Trump won. I'll tell you that much.
I mean, but he's like angry. Like he's had part of it. Look, I also believe a bit in the principle that like part of sometimes when you see people get spinning mad on TV, that's partly because they had to work themselves up into it. It's a lot easier to do your job of like being on TV and talking about bullshit if you can like amp yourself up. And I mean, this is like the trick to ESPN. This is how Fox News people do it, is that like it's way easier to and makes for better television if you're just persistently agitated and you work yourself up into that frenzy than it is to discuss things like an adult, frankly.
He's so mad. He's mad like Mika saw the meat pick. You know what I mean? Like that's how angry he is. Like he caught Mika looking at the meat pick or something this morning.
He like comes home, he saw the Rolling Stone spread, and he's just like, mother, like Joe Pesci,
and Mika's like, no, you don't understand. I was reading the articles. Like I was reading the article. It's just I don't know how the Schmeat pick made it into my time. It's crazy. Have you seen Debbie Dingle talking about?
Oh
that?
Yeah, I was like, I don't get it, but he's handsome or whatever. I mean, I thought that was.
She's like, yeah,
I appreciated the honesty.
She's like, yeah, he takes his shirt off and he's working out. Anyway, let's continue.
Send your metaphor. We're bringing this up now because it seems an awful lot like what was happening in 2024 when Democrats couldn't get out of their own way to win an election they should have won.
He's so mad.
Yeah, he's
so mad.
His argument also revolves around like electability when it's like, yeah, you know, the electability argument is if you just shut the fuck up about Israel.
He's so mad, dude.
Yeah,
I'm sorry. I'm hung up on how like he's the I don't know if I've ever seen. I mean, not that like I'm a Joe Scarborough scholar.
I'm a Joe Scarborough head.
Oh,
so I can tell you as a Joe Scarborough academic, you know, this is what I studied in college.
Oh yeah, you were in regional studies with a focus in Scarborough country.
Yeah, communications degree. You know, it's crazy. I did not see Joe Scarborough this mad after Trump got elected. He is more mad about this stuff, about my existence in media and Dottie Eliza going to a pro-Palestine rally on October 8th, where she was right but too early by Joe's case. I guess like January 6th is the last time he was this mad. Like, I don't know. He wasn't this mad when Trump won. I'll tell you that much.
I mean, but he's like angry. Like he's had part of it. Look, I also believe a bit in the principle that like part of sometimes when you see people get spinning mad on TV, that's partly because they had to work themselves up into it. It's a lot easier to do your job of like being on TV and talking about bullshit if you can like amp yourself up. And I mean, this is like the trick to ESPN. This is how Fox News people do it, is that like it's way easier to and makes for better television if you're just persistently agitated and you work yourself up into that frenzy than it is to discuss things like an adult, frankly.
He's so mad. He's mad like Mika saw the meat pick. You know what I mean? Like that's how angry he is. Like he caught Mika looking at the meat pick or something this morning.
He like comes home, he saw the Rolling Stone spread, and he's just like, mother, like Joe Pesci,
and Mika's like, no, you don't understand. I was reading the articles. Like I was reading the article. It's just I don't know how the Schmeat pick made it into my time. It's crazy. Have you seen Debbie Dingle talking about?
Oh
that?
Yeah, I was like, I don't get it, but he's handsome or whatever. I mean, I thought that was.
She's like, yeah,
I appreciated the honesty.
She's like, yeah, he takes his shirt off and he's working out. Anyway, let's continue.
To end your metaphor, the Democrats have the ball at the 2-yard line. Now they have to call the right play. And there are ways they could botch this. There's no question there. Getting at the ball at the 2 doesn't mean you're going to score. Seattle Seahawks about a decade ago in a Super Bowl is evidence of that. So this is where Democrats are, and that's why there is such scrutiny. It is understandable why there's such energy on the left, and we've just gone through all the reasons why. There's a lot of energy there. People are tired. People are sick. People think these fundamental issues need to be addressed. But that energy comes with a spotlight. And some questions have to get answered. And that's why we're looking at so many of these races right now as we head into the stretch run of this election year. We talked about Wisconsin. Joining us now live from Madison is MS Now reporter Will McDuffie. Will, good to see you. What are you hearing from voters ahead of tomorrow's closely watched primary?
That's right, Hank. I'm here in the streets of Milwaukee, and they're saying no to Hasan Piker. This is the primary concern of the electorate broadly, and that is what they are angry about.
Just imagining you're spending like all this money, like you send out like a camera crew, you've got producers, you've got like people doing all this money, all this labor intensive. And it's to have a guy standing out of state capitol so that he can answer questions about Hasan Piker.
Yeah, it's great. I love it.
Because of the candidates involved.
Well, I mean, we heard AOC kind of laugh off the idea of woke one, but that's resonating with voters here because people, Democrats we've met who don't like Francesca Hong are citing things like her tweets to cancel Thanksgiving and abolish the police. And she has said that those are bad takes that she made 5-6 years ago under the stress of being a small business owner and being a student. But mind you, like she made those comments when she was either running for the state assembly or is already sworn in. So she was a public.
I don't care.
Dave Weigel brought this
man.
up. Dave Weigel brought this up in his analysis before, but it's like very strange that like there's been a total reversal where like Francesca Hong comes on my stream and we talk 2 hours. We talk for 2 hours about policy, about what she's going to do for the voters, like what she cares about. And then she goes on mainstream media and they're like, well, you made a Thanksgiving tweet where you said folks with an X in 2020. Why don't you kill yourself? And it's like it's completely topsy-turvy. You would expect like independent media, people like myself to be silly and like, do silly things, care about silly things, talk about silly things. Whereas the sensationalized quick media hit environment has made it so that they're talking about silly things when they go on mainstream outlets for like, 2 to 3 minutes. Whereas when they're here, they talk about policy for 2 hours.
I mean, look, I'll give my simple answer about why that's the case, which is, do you think that Joe Scarborough could lead an interesting discussion about like data center politics? Like the answer is no.
Yeah, that's true.
Like I just genuinely believe that the reason they're talking about this is because this is what they're equipped to talk about. Like why is ESPN like currently in this like stupid meathead era? It's because like they employ meatheads to like talk about takes and like they have fewer people with knowledge and we're getting reporters, which is to say that like this is not just in politics. It's just that obviously, politics arguably matters a little bit more than sports media. And at least in this case, it's like, yeah, Joe Scarborough is just like, that's not what he talks about. He's not the guy to explain like, like in Wisconsin, part of what's like powered Francesca Hong's, campaign to the position that it's in is like a lot of resentment and a lot of anger about a whole set of like policy issues and realities about people's lives that don't really have to do with Hasan Piker.
The Francesca Hong polls should be a wake-up call for the DC elite to be like, how are we getting this so wrong? And yet, in their sense of entitlement and their unbelievable smug elitism, they're like, we shouldn't even, look at our priors and maybe try to analyze what Wisconsin voters are paying attention to, what they care about. And instead of doing that, when you got like someone up 20 points, right? So against the established media narrative, instead of looking at the environment of like what the voters are demanding, they're like, no, the voters are wrong. They're just stupid. They're just stupid, wrong, and unaware that like she is a bad candidate. And it's unbelievable. Like 20 points. She's winning every demographic except for 65 plus, where she's tied with Crowley in the last poll that came out. She's winning every demographic by like 60 points. If you go back to like the 18 to 35. She has like a 69 point advantage.
I mean, I think another part of this is, well, and also look, 10 years ago in a different lifetime for me, when I was like a reporter covering Silicon Valley and media, I had a boss, a great reporter named Ed Lee, who told me just as like an exercise, like look at the average age for the people who watch MSNBC. I guess now, that's
MS Now.
sorry, that's the dead name. MS Now,
multiple sclerosis now,
and Fox and CNN. And what is the commonality? Like the average age, and this is in 2016. Like every single one of those networks, the average age of their viewers was into the 60s. For Fox, it was like 69. I think CNN, it was 63, and MSNBC, it was 61. That was in 2016. That was 2016. I do not imagine that those numbers have improved substantially.
No, they've just gotten older.
And so, I ask you, like, who is Joe Scarborough making this for? What kind of stuff is he equipped to make? And like, it's, I don't think it's, when I say it's that simple, I think it's like that simple in the dynamic what's going on. What I think is not simple, however, is that these are places and venues where lots of people who do not think like the people on the TV screens, it's still where they get their information. And so, when we look at like Crowley's support, I just, I'm not a Wisconsin demographics.
By the way,
I'm not a Wisconsin elections effort, but I can't imagine that it's like, it's such hard, incredibly like resolute support. It just has to in part to be a function of like, people like Joe Scarborough focusing on this shit.
This is who Joe Scarborough is doing it for. It's it's tailor-made for the Republican midterm strategy. That Democrats are in a state of disarray. The base is not united. The base is actually very angry at like the left flank and its manifestation in the form of this like rabble rouser Hasan Piker. That's why it's immediately on Fox News. Joe Scarborough goes scorched earth on Democrats not separating themselves from Hasan Piker. So I repeat my message once again during the night of the primary victory party for Abdul al-Sayed, which is lock in to the consultant class, to the establishment Democrats. You have to recognize what they're doing. This is not a successful message unless you actively try to train the boomers that watch you into believing that the base is actually not united because they just can't get over this hump. We'll fight no matter what, and we'll most likely win no matter what. But it's really annoying to have to fight the Trump forces, to have to fight MAGA, but then also on top of that, to have to fight establishment media as well that presents themselves as, knowing the best interest of the masses, especially the 65-year-old audience that's like 40% of the base of voters broadly that are still getting their notes from MSNBC.
Well, also, I mean, look, I think some of this is a little bit about like these are also a group of people who they wouldn't frame it as such, but the way I see it is that like they want to say in their own decline. And again, I believe that what is happening is like a generational political transfer in a lot of ways. Like that's what we mean when we talk about like how age is such a factor here, right? That it is this like process by which like people who are older are expressing incredible and real anxiety about like the loss of position that they themselves has. They don't consciously see themselves as a generation, of course, but like that is the dynamic we see play out across people of a certain age, generally speaking. And to me, that's, it's like, these people look and they see like, oh, we're getting displaced, but it's not by like Pete Buttigieg. It's not by like the chosen inheritors of our legacy. It's by the engaged, knowledgeable people who all tend to happen, which I think it should tell you something that like most of the people who do have like talent and interest and charisma and who are able to reach other people in that way, that they do tend to come from like at least like one section of the tent. Figure.
David Sirota had a good point to jump off what you're saying. The corporate Dem faction from Carville to Tandon to Scarborough to Iglesias, Ezra, Chait, etc. got so used to issuing political directives from fancy TV studios and social media feeds and seeing those directives loyally followed. Now the populist faction is out in the streets organizing voters and winning, which makes the corporate faction mad. They're losing power and they aren't happy about it.
I'll give a qualified agreement to that, with the qualifying being that I don't think that some of those names were big enough to get used to issue any fatwas.
Okay,
but
fair.
I do think that like especially Neera Tandon seems extremely obvious that but like that essentially everybody that she has beefed with on the internet for the last 15 years is coming together to like root for the death of the political primacy of her wing in the party. I mean, and also look, like she's
same with
like
James Carville.
if you're I just tend to think of it as like Neera's best years were the ones where she had a job that literally did not allow her to fight on Twitter. And now that she's back and doing this, I think it tells you something about the status of let's say, like, her movement and so forth.
Yeah, she's out here retweeting Epstein and like Rape Tone, who's I don't know if you know that one.
I'm
the
familiar
bald
with
one.
Tech Tone, yeah.
Yeah. Like, he's retweeting these like reactionary forces because they're attacking me. And it's like, if you're in the dirt and your primary focus is to disparage like a left media personality, you up. Like,
well, also, no, but I mean, like, look, like, I think it's even dumber than that. Like, Neera Tanden, like, literally does not do her job. Like, straight up.
Yeah.
She runs the Center for American Progress, what is supposed to be like the most influential, substantial left think tank. It's supposed to be incredibly productive.
Yeah.
And she spends all day, not as far as, and I say this as a guy who also spends a bunch of time on Twitter and doesn't mind making posts. Like,
yeah, where are the policy papers?
Like, I
Where
don't
the
see
fucking
her.
policy
Like, she was
papers?
ahead. She was a senior policy official in the Biden administration. I do not ever see her talking about matters of policy.
Bro,
I do not ever see her with ideas about like what the future of the country should actually be. All I see is her like getting really mad about elections.
Who is worse at their marketed jobs? Organizer memes, which never post memes or ever organizes, or Neera Tanden, who's supposed to be at the Center for American Progress.
And also, look, like, we just know that the evidence is that like she's quite bad at running that organization. There was the time that, you know, she outed the name of somebody who had been a victim of, I believe it was sexual misconduct in the workplace, and she outed that in a public setting and caught a little bit of shit. There was the time that she targeted all the employees who worked under her who had been critical of Israel, and then she subsequently had Benjamin Netanyahu. I mean, like, I like Neera Tanden's actual record of actions speaks for itself. Sorry,
she was brought back. She was literally brought back to CAP so that she could come in, make sure that the previous president of CAP was insufficiently Zionist, was eradicated. His influence was eradicated from the group. And then she also ended up bringing in Anthony Blinken to the board of trustees for the Center for American Progress. So, like, it's very clear what her goal is. Her design is to ensure that the prestigious premier left think tank, or liberal, you know, I guess somewhat progressive think tank, is still churning out like Zionist propaganda. That's her job.
And I mean, I think, look, I do think there are a lot of people at CAP who do perfectly fine work and everything. I think it's more.
Yeah,
like,
I know people.
But of course, we both
there.
do. It's
Yeah.
Where I see this though is that it's like, yeah, Neera gets to coast on the work of all those people who work for her, who do things that are perfectly anodyne and fine. And obviously, there are those who probably don't. But she gets to coast. You know, she gets to benefit from all their labor so that she can like spend all day on Twitter whining about Abdul spending too much time.
Yeah, look at the board of directors. Look at this: Anthony J. Blinken. Like,
Who's
John Podesta, Neera Tanden, Donald Sussman. I mean, I guess you got Julian Castro. He's all right.
It's fine. I just think it's like, look, like, I just think it's she's not a serious person. She's never been a serious person. She's a political liability in pretty much any context she's ever existed. And she treats everybody else on the left side of the aisle that exact same way. Like that they're the carriers of the plague that she is.
Yeah.
Like, that's bullshit. Sorry. I just don't. It's, you know, like, it sucks. And it also, what I dislike about it more than anything is probably the like amount of oxygen that she sucks up from other people. Like, she derails shit, and it's irritating.
All right, let's
years
continue
ago,
with this.
under the stress of being a small business owner and being a student, but mind you, like, sworn in, Milwaukee won. In terms of Democrats who spoke to us, they were against Hong because of electability. They just didn't think that she could beat Tom Tiffany in a general election. I mean, we're talking about Wisconsin here, purple state. The success we've seen with DSA has been in like deep blue congressional districts, and now we're talking about a swing state. But she does have a bunch of appeal, and we'll get to that. But I do want to play some sound from a voter who expressed those electability concerns.
I think he is electable in this state.
The implication there is that
It's always so funny that like the primary purpose of mainstream media at this point is to just like badger people with an electability concern that has no proven rate of success, and then go to the people who literally listen to those concerns and interview them to be like, see, we succeeded in finding a guy who trusts our who agrees with our narrative that, like, you know, Crowley is more electable. Now, we've covered extensively why Crowley's not electable, and the polls don't seem to show that he is electable, but you shouldn't feel confident at all.
I
You
just
should
it's like
continue
we're
phone
how many
banking.
we're how many years into this like lesson of learning that electability is also not something that exists on a left-right spectrum. Like Donald Trump was more electable than Hillary Clinton in 2016, which is a sentence that like should
he wasn't.
And
he-
you know that like is because people had like different, you know, it's what is electable mean stuff. And I'm not saying that means, I'm not, by the way, saying that means like Hong is more or less electable than anybody. That's not my point. It's just that like I think electability is like I just it's, you know, unless you're talking about like did somebody say, I don't know, sexually assault somebody else. I don't know just why that might be have a relevant political concern to bring up in a candidate's credibility of late. Like yeah, that's one thing, but like in general, like electability as like this idea of it's not. I don't know. It's like it's like something like as something for people among the masses and the chattering classes to get super head up about. It just feels boring, misplaced.
Here's a good take, by the way. The reason attack ads targeting candidates over association with Hasan Piker keep not working is because for 90% of the people that would care, it requires explaining who Hasan is first. And at that point, it's just an ad about some guy
this is
that
what the
isn't a
polling
candidate.
shows. Sorry, Hasan, I hate to break this to you, but like nobody knows who you are.
No, I know. That's what I've been saying, but nobody listens to me. None of these guys who talk about me
They
all
don't
day, every
understand
day.
that you have no motion.
Yeah.
You have no hose.
I got no hose, no
You have no
bitches.
stacks.
My weed is not loud. My smoke is not loud
Like
at
you're
all.
pure mid.
Yes.
Pure
I'm
mid.
And for the people that do know me, if they don't like me, they are never voting for a Democrat anyway. And the ones that like me will go out and knock on doors and canvass for a candidate. And it seems to be at least significant enough that candidates are invested in eating the barrage of like media attacks. Dude, this is so funny. This is like, they are so angry about the I'm white Lamau moment.
I
Yeah.
mean, it matters a lot to them.
Yeah, no, they're
It's
like,
kind of all that you got is really,
Yeah.
but that's my reaction to that is like, it's, you know, it's like, well, like, it's kind of all that they have. Even if
you're not white, please stop.
even if they includes like a blue check account in New Delhi that is posting pro-Israel white nationalist identity content all day.
Yeah. What is this? Fox News, racism is hitting a second tower. What is this? Tickets for Hasan Piker, 120 to 1,200. What the is this? Hasan Piker's an anchor baby's parents. Communism is a rich kid hobby. Bro, this has 7 likes. You're literally, what you're doing at that point is just like you're giving this insane narrative more light than it is ever expected to take. Anyway, here's the second part where he continues on with Pablo, my goat. Pablo tries to defend me on the contentious Scarborough media hour.
But because there is a historical analysis instead of a political one, you are missing the opportunity to build a coalition. And so what do? I think you try to avoid the faculty lounge, which is what that sounds like. It sounds like an opportunity to have a conversation that you should be having not right now in the middle of an election, but at some point more abstractly.
Yeah, did you see this pending community note? Least racist community note in 2026? I'm White Lamau, an essay on the inequality of human races by Gobenau, published in 1855, has classified the Turks as a yellow race, mediocre intelligence at best. The Turks are classified as dense and ponderous. I
just want to give a shout out.
White trades through the practice of white slavery.
I just want to give a shout out to Nikita Beer. You were the worst CEO, like in Silicon Valley for a time. No, of X he was. He was the head product guy, whatever. He ran the thing.
Yeah.
And it sucked. You blew it. You blew it, dude. It stinks now. It's so bad. And it's like because you let stuff like this happen. You signed your name next to this stuff, dude. This is you. And now you're gone. Yeah, and this is like what most people are going to know you for.
Yeah.
Like this thing that you up. That sucks.
Yeah, but
God, that sucks for him,
but he
dude.
changed
Doesn't that suck for him? I think it sucks for him.
He changed the Iranian flag for a day. Remember in the heat of the the Iranian.
Isn't it funny how the Strait of Hormuz is going to be closed longer than he had that job? I bet. I bet you that.
Okay,
I bet
that's
you.
Actually true.
I bet you that the Strait will be closed for longer than he had that job.
Straits will close. And Nikita no longer is capable of making these decisions at Twitter because he
That's
had to
right,
leave.
because he got fired.
Yeah. It's crazy to get fired from Twitter. Like you were Elon Musk's strongest soldier. You did everything he wanted, and you still got fired.
You still got fired. You made it. You screwed up. You made it worse. You did such a bad job, and you still got fired.
Oh, still got fired. It's not great, man. Not great. But hey, he left this wonderful white supremacist platform in the backdrop. All right, let's get back to Pablo.
And in the meantime, you try to point out, look, Hasan Piker, I've talked to Hasan Piker before. I don't think he's Nick Fuentes. I think he's more like Charlie Kirk. And the idea there is
Pablo.
There are people.
God damn it, dude. That's your defense? We sat side by side.
That's pretty funny.
My ass, dude.
Yeah.
He cooked my ass. Damn.
Carry that flame.
Yeah, we gotta.
We are Charlie.
Okay, let's continue.
People who exist to provoke on the other side. And the question is, as a party, as Dems, do you then hold yourself to a standard that is beyond what, again, the other side equivalent of the aisle is doing? And that's a political calculation for a party that hasn't made a lot of those, frankly.
So I haven't spoken with Hasan Piker and haven't listened to him. When you talk to him,
wait, so you went on this motherfucking rant? You went on this rant? That's crazy. He just admitted that he just never watched me. That's crazy.
did you ask him about 9/11, about the justification for 9/11, or him being unconcerned about Israeli women being?
No, because normal people don't do that. Like, normal people are not like, hey, by the way, like, I know we're hanging out right now, but when you said America deserved 9/11, what was going on there? Like, I disavow you. Like, that's not a normal conversation that takes place.
Raped on October the 7th. That's not a leading question. I'm genuinely curious.
No.
If you had the opportunity to talk to him about that.
Have not debated him on those issues. I know that that's stuff that I would never say. And the reality of that analysis that he has is familiar. It's the idea of American empire, Joe, and like, what have we wrought that we are now suffering, which is, again, this academic historical analysis from a million feet. But Abdul al-Sayed, from what he's saying now, right? What he's saying is, I would never say it, and it's unconscionable. And that's correct. But I welcome, by the way, that conversation. I don't even think it's a thing Hasan would debate at this point. It's something that you say when you're trying to make a point that forces the mainstream to reckon with all of the costs of what American militarism has done. And I would not say it's ridiculous.
I just don't know how talking about Jewish women being raped has anything to do with
horrible.
What America's foreign policy has wrought. And
Yeah, I mean, this is the Newsbusters. I don't know what else he said. I don't know what else Pablo said. I haven't spoken to Hasan Piker and haven't listened to him. Joe Scarborough explaining that he has extremely strong opinions that require shouting indoors about a person he's never listened to.
Yeah, even Ryan noticed it. Like, he's shouting. Like, it's weird.
Yeah.
Also, it's because he has to work himself up because it's a non-issue and he has to like get all high and like it's also the talking about like Israeli women getting raped thing is also a gatelle because it's about like, well, listen, I may have been loudly insisting that Israel should have had any and all, means at its disposal to wage what like snowballed within a matter of hours into becoming like, a genocide by any like sane measure of it. But we need to focus on one of the guys who did call that correctly because of a point that he made in service of that argument that I didn't like. And it's like, all right, this is boring, dude. That's boring. You're boring. You don't. Yeah. It drives me crazy. Because it's like, what do you do? Like, how do you? He doesn't want to have a conversation. Clearly, he's not listening to you.
Yeah, this was a truth too. Hasan Piker's response to 9/11 was awful. The way he lied about WMDs and invaded the wrong country and manipulated the media into cheerleading a criminal. What else he said? I don't know what else Pablo said. I haven't spoken to Hasan Piker and haven't listened to him. Joe Scarborough explaining that he has extremely strong opinions that require shouting indoors about a person he's never listened to.
Yeah, even Ryan noticed it. Like, he's shouting. Like, it's weird.
Yeah.
Also, it's because he has to work himself up because it's a non-issue and he has to like get all high and like it's also the talking about like Israeli women getting raped thing is also a gatelle because it's about like, well, listen, I may have been loudly insisting that Israel should have had any and all means at its disposal to wage what like snowballed within a matter of hours into becoming like a genocide by any like sane measure of it. But we need to focus on one of the guys who did call that correctly because of a point that he made in service of that argument that I didn't like. And it's like, all right, this is boring, dude. That's boring. You're boring. You don't. Yeah. It drives me crazy because it's like, what do you do? Like, how do you? He doesn't want to have a conversation. Clearly, he's not listening to you.
Yeah, this was a truth too. Hasan Piker's response to 9/11 was awful. The way he lied about WMDs and invaded the wrong country and manipulated the media into cheerleading a criminal war of choice and got thousands of innocents killed. Not cool, man. To which Glenn Greenwald responds, this is a key point about the endless Hasan Piker discourse. This media figure spewing rage and demanding everyone denounce him are friends with and have amiable chats every day with the world's worst war criminals, people who started immoral wars with massive amounts of blood on their hands, who tortured, who kidnapped, who caused the 2008 financial collapse. Whatever you think of Hasan Piker, he did none of that. He hasn't bombed anyone or obliterated families or caused generations of economic deprivation. His main crime, aside from the main one, hostility towards Israel, is that he streams for 12 hours a day every day, and they can find 2 or 3 things that he has said that they repeat over and over, particularly the 9/11 comment, which he retracted and for which he repeatedly apologized. Watching these media figures who are friends with Bush and Cheney, monsters, and Obama fiends who dropped drones on wedding parties and oligarchs who wiped out 2 generations of America's financial security act as if Hasan Piker is some unique evil is utterly farcical. Seems like they arbitrarily pick someone out to use as a symbol and scapegoat for channeling public rage in a politically useful manner. Considering he's a live streamer and the whole purpose of the medium is to be edgy, they also really have found very little to justify even that, as seen in the House resolution personally condemning him, which had almost no substantiation, bizarre and authoritarian system. Like, the wildest part about it is that, like, I've spoken for more than 22,000 hours since I started live broadcasting on Twitch. And it's, those numbers are going to continue growing, right? They have like 5 things, and like 4 of them are not even up, and one of them you could describe, you could explain, and most people would agree with. And it's crazy that that's what they're doing at a time when, like, it's very clear that, like, most of the public don't give a shit about choice words. They don't. They voted for Trump. They voted for Trump to win the presidency twice. So they don't give a shit. Like the whole, like, yo, you got to apologize for your fucking words.
I
when
think
they should be apologizing for their words. They've been defending Israel even to
but
this
there's
day.
no, like, but it's like, this is about, like, okay, like, if Joe Scarborough started asking himself those kinds of questions, then it would sort of necessitate asking a whole lot of other questions. And I just don't think he's ready to pull that Jenga brick. And so this is, like, what's kind of sad about this situation, frankly, which is what I was saying about how, like, you can't talk with these people. It's what's sad and frustrating is, like, this is not an invitation to discourse. This is not a good discourse. What it is like
it's really good discourse.
It's a weapon.
For them.
I mean, like, look, it's
really good discourse for them because it literally takes away from having a productive conversation
well,
about anything.
It becomes a thing. Like put it this way, right? Like, it becomes a question that they use, a framing device that they use when talking with an AOC, when talking with an Abdul, when talking with literally anybody whose politics are somewhere to the left of Rahm Emanuel. Yeah. Like, they will get asked about Hasan Piker now. Even if their politics are to the right of Rahm Emanuel, they will get asked about Hasan Piker now. Yeah. But that's not my point. My point is that, like, if you're a progressive, you are going to be held to account for whatever it is that you say. Fine.
Yeah.
And that's just, like, it's not actually like they're not interested in, like, having a conversation about any of this stuff. Or, I mean, having a conversation with you. It's they want to use your whole existence as a cudgel. So they're going to recycle the same 4 quotes until, and, listen, we could workshop this today. We could give them a new quote.
Yeah, I'll say something. I'll say something crazy.
We could do that today. Like, right? Maybe that would be a good use of time.
Yeah. This is, I think, a pretty good button to end this segment on. It's wild at the left's excesses because it goes back to the woke 1, woke 2 argument that we were having, or the conversation we were having earlier, that, like, the left's excesses on woke 1 were just, like, bad tweets or silly tweets.
They also, weren't. I mean, I don't know if I don't want to be totally duplicative, but, like, well, first I want to preface anything that I say on this with that, like, I despise the pejorative phrase of like how people talk about and use the word woke now. It has felt like racism won in that case, and that, like, people now use, like, a piece of AAVE in this, like, totally, like, desultory way that I've never particularly liked or found comfortable, and I think it's cheap and lame, but it's just the world we live in now, and so I despise it. So with that preface aside, is also that, like, I posted this photo on Twitter earlier, but like 12 years ago, I think it was 12 or 11 years ago, when I was working for Recode, a website that Kara Swisher ran, and a news site covering Silicon Valley. It was later bought by Vox, but at, like, our flagship tech conference, Jack Dorsey was there sitting with DeRay McKesson on stage, and Jack Dorsey is wearing a #StayWoke shirt. Like, part of what feels like so frustrating about all of this to me is just like the broad conflation of like everything that people don't like about like, you know, whether they call it cancel culture, what they didn't like about like racialized political consciousness or political consciousness along about issues of racial justice. Either one, take your pick. Like all of this shit felt like it's just like, well, we're going to take the worst shit of that and we're going to lay that at the feet of like Francesca Hong. You know what I mean? Like that. Like I'm just not like,
it's a way to rehash the same narratives of like cancel culture. Don't you remember how annoying you guys were and how annoying you made us feel, how bad you made us feel for our
remember how
positions?
bad you made me, like an executive at LinkedIn, feel for whatever.
It's like, and they leaned into it at the time too as a marketing tool. And
it was cynical then. It's cynical now. Fine.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, I'm not really interested in throwing the baby out with the bathwater.
But doing it right now also is annoying because you're basically in some respects like, were there excesses as far as like annoying tweets? It doesn't matter at the end of the day because the excesses of the moderates, as Julian Brave Noisecap points out, are foreign wars with death tools in the hundreds of thousands, death tolls in the hundreds of thousands, and the rights excesses are like literal attempts at authoritarianism, you know, putting people in concentration camps. Like, if the worst thing that a left politician has is a annoying tweet or whatever that is technically not wrong, right? But just like it makes you feel bad about
and look,
American history.
And none of this is about like not learning how to like prioritize certain messages over others, having to like be approachable in what you talk about, you know, like use it, like, you know, also like beginning discussions that you can finish and sound credible in, like, which is not always easy with talking about things like defund the police. Like, granted, you know, this is what being like individually judicious and personally strategic means, right? And disciplined. But it is also just like, that doesn't mean I just like I just don't feel comfortable with like all the woke 1, pre-woke, woke 2, all that shit. Like, it's not a discussion or a frame of it I particularly like. And I think
it was just fake. It was always the thing that annoys me is like the corporate the corporate, like the corporatized version of like the sanitized identity politics and social justice was like very clearly a marketing technique, and people weren't wrong to call it out. I mean, I called it out at the time too.
Well, yeah, I mean, I remembered like being like suffering the consequences for being perceived as a person who, like, you know, might have called, like, it just like it's a little bit through the looking glass right now. I think a lot of the people also, like, some of the stuff that like really grinds my gears are seeing a lot of the people who were like hiring managers and editors in chief and senior executives at companies that like led the charge in some of the more dubious aspects of what they are now calling woke 1 or whatever. And it's just like, I would literally rather just like skip this by, pay it no mind, and try and move on and find more productive ways to talk about any of this shit.
Yeah.
Just because like the amount of hypocrisy that I feel like as somebody who has a memory longer than 10 minutes with this is like, it's going to make my eyes roll.
I also
back
think,
into the, like, you know, into like 2011.
I also think it was really annoying is the people who are like hyper obsessed with culture wars on the opposing side to be like, this is all culture wars, and then they become culture warriors themselves, like Zayd Jilani, who literally has made it his life's mission to only talk about like woke 1 or how ridiculous it was, where you're like, okay, you're doing the same thing on the opposing side, like you're and far worse because you happen to be also on the side that is like somewhat less empathetic, less moral, or less historically correct at the very least. And I find that to be just as unproductive as the people doing the opposite thing, or if not more unproductive, because you're still a culture warrior at the end of the day. Like, you're no different. You're not above it. You're not above it at all when all your output revolves around identity politics and how the shallow nature of it or the cynical deployment of it.
Well, I also think like what it really limits you with more than anything, right, is that it makes you into a certain kind of an idiot. And by a certain kind of an idiot, what I mean is that you lose, like, to me, a huge amount of like politics, and at least shapes what I think about what my own politics should be, is like where I see like the people, like where are the people who I want to be with and who espouse values and seem like talented and creative and have like an, you know, like a dynamic understanding of the world, and it evolves to suit it, and, you know, while retaining a commitment to the same kinds of values I hold. Like, I think about where are the people and how to get to them, and I really never find that like any of these people who organize their identity, organize their perspective, organize their frame of reference around these issues and around like the you know, quote unquote backlash of all this shit from the last decade and a half or whatever. Like, I just, the last 5 years in particular, I find that they're not with people. They're not in organizations. They're not committed to being a part of like the kind of fabric of life that I want to be in, and or that I think is healthy. It's if anything, like they're often like kind of parochial, and they're obsessed with like real like Norman Rockwell visions of what community life and relation are like, and I don't think that that's that surprising. These people also often struggle to make eye contact in real life. They dress badly. You know, they don't have I'm willing to go so far as to say that I find that like it is like an antisocial tendency, and that like the more and more you engage with people who think like that, the more and more it just comes out. And I'm not trying to talk about like specific individuals, like just more like as the last years have gone on, it's a thing I feel like I have noticed in encounters with people who think like that.
Yeah. All right. Now we're gonna move away from this to
the goal is to make him seem
the Pod Johns talking about unhinged Republican drops extremely racist ad.